put on the alternative version of a higher quality streaming site.
No, YouTube, 380p.
And so it slowly transitions, and it reminds me of student films where like you're trying to do it on a budget. And I was like, okay, I like this because even it's coming up another month. There's a film festival. It's like 13 student films, all horror and sci-fi. I love watching those things. So I was like, okay. The last 20 minutes, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? This one, I'm like, okay, you got me a little bit hooked. And then I saw the googly eyes spin around. I was like, oh, fuck, come on, man. Like, you had me for a little bit there.
Oh, no.
Since the plot is very paper thin, we'll just run through it real quick. And then we'll talk about all the many
Inappropriate
things that need to be talked about. A lot of them are problematic. So the creature comes to life, emerges from the water, murders dude's alcoholic girlfriend who likes to party.
Oh, yeah, she did drink. I was going to say.
Yeah, she was drinking. I don't even know what alcohol that was.
It was big.
Huge.
I don't know. That looked like that was like
Cognac.
1920s.
It was a big thing of brandy, I think.
That would actually make sense.
Like, the bottle was big enough and probably thick enough. You could probably bludgeon somebody with it fairly easily
Without
before it broke.
shattering.
Yeah. And then now he's on the he's on the other side of the door now. He knows he can walk around.
Yeah.
The thing about my cat is sometimes Mr. Matches is super smart. Like, really frighteningly smart for a cat. And then other times you look at him and you're like, you're dumb.
He just wants that
dumb as
fucking
shit.
door open.
But yeah, so continue. So the monster murders Tina.
That was her name. And she was, in typical horror movie fashion, it was the slutty one who gets killed first.
Yeah. It is the promiscuous one usually dies first.
Yeah.
Virgins live
She
forever.
just wanted to fucking dance and go for a fucking swim.
I was like, she didn't even do anything.
No, she was fully clothed.
For the 60s, she undid the knot of her shirt and
Which is
showed
funny
the guy.
because nearly every other woman there was wearing less than her.
Also, we've got
Showed
men
off.
in like fucking short shorts. I mean, fair enough, bring back the short shorts, but like those shorts were shorter than any of the women on that fucking screen.
I think some guy had some of his curlies poking out.
Well, I wasn't paying that much.
Thank God the YouTube quality was there.
Yeah,
to save
blurred
me.
that out.
I am always looking at actors' crotches
Okay.
just all the time. I have.
Hey, you're not discriminating between anything, so good on you.
Why is that? No, that's still both. Are still weird. You know what I mean? And staring at anyone's.
I have what's called cinematic face blindness, so I don't recognize actors by their faces.
Stop.
I recognize
By their groin.
just saying the grossest thing. But yeah, it was the '60s, so they were like, "This is the most scandalous thing we can make her do."
Yeah. No.
And
then she gets murdered for it.
And then
For swimming.
Yeah. How dare she swim by herself after dancing and like not really grind? I mean, they weren't even touching.
They barely touched.
Yeah, there was.
Regardless, I don't know the chastity of this woman.
Yeah, and the dude's like, don't like. They just don't even give her any sort of say in the matter. The dudes just start beating the shit out of each other, like
in the most comical way possible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Battering rams.
That was my favorite. I think if I ever get in a fight, I just pick me up. Let's fucking go.
Ram me at me, dude.
But if someone was just like running at you, fucking holding someone, like you'd be like, oh shit. Like,
so after the actual party beach, we don't have very much party beach scene.
No, we have
it switches away
shitty-
really
I think
quick.
maybe that's why it was top heavy with the party part, the party beach part.
they could only film there for so. No, because they kind of go back at the end.
Well, they go back. They go back. So what ends up like happening is that the police get involved. Obviously,
Yay,
Worst cops ever in this movie. None of them smoke, so you can't trust any of them.
and then we switch because they start talking about, we got to make sure that Dr. Gavin gets on this, who ends up being the father of the love interest,
Wow.
flirting interest of
Hank.
the now single Hank.
Hank Green, which I mean, poor Hank Green these days.
And people are setting them up, setting those two up together, like the day of the funeral. Like nobody's mourning very
Yeah, they're like,
much.
we're so sad Tina died, but like,
Yeah,
You guys-
what was it? death affected a lot of families.
He's smiling.
Anyways, go get her.
You two should bump uglies. And then, so the monster is killing people all over town, and some of the people they kill turn into other monsters.
Yeah,
which is never explained.
Well, it was funny because I remember Steph, when we were watching this together, she brought that up too, because I was so confused when it multiplied into 2. Yeah. What I think they either left on the cutting room floor or missed out, because remember when you see them after the slumber party, they take a couple of bodies away. Yeah. So I was like,
totally.
Oh, that makes at least a little bit of sense.
And but then it's just like, and then what happened?
But then they also say there's been thousands of deaths. Like the nude broadcast says thousands of deaths. And I'm like, so there was 8 in the end? Like you see about 8 of them get hit by...
Well, they killed 20 teenage girls.
Yeah. And then one survivor too, which was like, there's 20 people there. They killed 20, but there's 1 survivor and then 2 bodies missing. What? Like...
The cops didn't give a fuck.
Well, also, I think the other thing where they kind of, I don't think they stitched all the ideas together well enough, because they were also talking about how the radioactive body was like infested with amoebas, or what was it?
It was really like jellyfish, right? Like,
well, they were just trying to figure out if he's a plant, but it's also alive.
Plant
it was like this weird like chimera creature that was like part plant. Bullets don't work on it, so we can't.
We won't even test that.
We won't even test that. We can't afford. We can't afford.
Eulabelle hasn't told us to use bullets yet.
We haven't. Oh, we'll talk about her in a second.
I know. I'm gonna leave that one to Ro.
Yeah. You'll talk about the problematic thing first. I've already talked about a lot of problematic things to this episode, and all the other ones before it. So. What was it? Yeah. They were talking about how like it was like a hybrid creature. So maybe like certain people only got infected and then they turned into monsters.
Yeah.
They're not very
core justification.
Did they even say anything about other people getting infected? I thought they were just trying to figure out what it was.
Well, they kept saying monster. And then I was like, all right, like, you know, there's like, if the one survivor that you would have, if you'd have questioned her, would have been like, no, there were 2.
Yeah.
Like, this one was different. And I'm like, no, one was the same, one wasn't.
The cops walking out of the interrogation is like, she just had a lot of hot dogs in her mouth. What do you think that was about? Googly eyes halfway through it? I don't know. It's weird. I let her go. I'm sure this won't come back.
She just seemed like a nice girl.
Yeah,
she was a nice woman. She sat there and didn't say a thing, as a woman should, because this is 1963.
It's 1964.
Whatever.
Damn,
well, that's when it came out, so I don't actually know what it was supposed to
63.
be. Who knows what year it was in this movie?
So, as these murders are happening, the scientists and the cops are trying to figure it all out. And this brings us to the biggest problematic point of this movie, because there's a lot of mansplaining. There's a lot of again, product of its time, not justifying it, but like you're sitting there going, "Oh fuck!" Like, I know the needle hasn't moved very far from this, but slightly better now. No, okay.
Not really. I think it's
but that brings us to
I mean. It's okay. The needle hasn't moved very far, but there are allies now.
Oh my god!
I don't even know. I mean, I feel like people are more aware. I mean, I think we've given voice to people to actually
awareness.
Is anyone doing that much about it? I mean, the people who have the power to are certainly not. But obviously, other people are working hard. But homies with the money, I don't give a fuck, because these tropes still exist today. These tropes are still in almost every movie.
So speaking of this trope,
oh my god, the true fucking savior of this fucking movie, shocker, is a woman of color who fucking is the only is just the only person apparently with any reason who they've just put she's there. What is it?
She's the maid.
Maid. Yeah, it was like
it's a black and white film. It's just she's the sweet, nice, older black woman maid who's just has all the answers and the reason, and is the only one who seems to know what the fuck is going on with a fucking crew of just fucking white dude scientists and white dude fucking cops, and this Just put this whole movie on her.
But she walks in and she's just like, do you think it's voodoo? And they're like, that's preposterous.
Yeah. She tries to, they make her try to give, like, the daughter, like, a voodoo doll.
She takes the voodoo doll away from...
No, she doesn't take it.
Doesn't she take it? Grab it from Yulabel?
No, she says she doesn't want it. Like, no, she doesn't take the, she gives it back. Like, she just leaves. She's like, oh, I was just trying to help.
Oh, I thought she took it from Yulabel. It looked like the daughter took it.
Yeah, and she was like, "What is this?" And then she's like, "Oh, a voodoo doll." She's like, "Oh," and then like, yeah, gives it back. But also the fact, like, every black person is just into voodoo.
And then it never comes up again.
And the voodoo doll, like those were two separate things too. It's like one brought up voodoo, and then they're like, "Here's this voodoo doll."
Yeah. And then she just happens to say the right things at the right time.
She's the amazing plot device, which is the trope, right?
The
like
trope
the wise
of being
black individuals. It's actually funny.
The wise older black woman trope is still so
or black individual, a person of color individual. Like if somebody,
but black women.
Black women, very much
older
so.
Black women for
60s,
sure,
70s, 80s, 90s. 2000s.
Yeah, like the mommy.
I think that's
like,
finally starting to at least not be shown. I don't know from movies that I've not watched.
It's so crazy watching movies today.
No,
even
Whoopi Goldberg has aged into those roles.
I guess I don't watch movies that have that. Thankfully,
because the tropes. When you start watching, it's so crazy though.
Watch the latest remake of Stephen King's The Stand, which was, I mean, the sage-like black person in that story is also.
Yeah. But it's like people have been doing this with like making villains the black person or the cop or like the one older black, like, and if you start watching even newer movies, you start noticing the roles in which a lot of people of color are cast are very similar to each other, but they've just gotten, I think, a little bit better at hiding some things.
Yeah, maybe it's it's not the thing that I'm typically looking for.
Yeah, but once you know about it, you're like, oh fuck, I just watched 5 episodes and every single like bad guy was like a person of color, or like every single person who played this role was this race who spoke this way, and it happens a lot still, but it was definitely obviously worse back then. But that was probably their attempt of being inclusive. But the reality is, it's like, oh my god, you just made this black woman who works for you do literally all the work for zero credit. Like,
I was like, no thank you at the end. You know, like, oh thank god
she's just always there to give you a word of it. Like,
no acknowledgement.
Is that all that?
For her contributions.
No, well, I'm
and
and at the end, she just like her last scene, she literally leads Hank. It hasn't been established yet that Hank and Elaine are even together. And she leads
they've
Hank
just been vibing
and lets her into Elaine's room while she's passed out, probably like dealing with being assaulted by the monsters.
She was almost murdered by like 6 monsters.
Same as her father too, is like recovering. Another throwaway line, how's my dad? He was badly burned, but he'll be okay. And I was like, okay, badly burned can mean a multitude of things. Maybe comfort her a little bit more.
He looked fine. He was fine.
Like,
he's fucking fine. What's his name? Gavin?
Yeah, Dr. Gavin, I think.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Like,
but no, is it Dr. something Dr. Gavin? Or Get Fucked Gavin?
Like, how badly burned is he? Like, did they just have to like dress the wound every day, or they're taking skin grafts from his butt to like put on?
He probably had like a fucking sunburn, like second, like he's just got a little bit. He's like, he's just been badly burned.
Or they're
oh no.
Or Yulabel, give me that more. You know what? The oil, the aloe vera.
these racist townsfolk are probably like, Yulabel, you know voodoo. He's in the back room, like he's getting gangrene, and they're like, I don't know.
The moment it was the voodoo part, I was like, I can't take this seriously, because like again,
it's just like the stereotypes and the fucking tropes, and there's just like, oh wow, look at this convenient little role that you wrote that you use, and like, oh, you're so inclusive because you had one single person of color, and they worked as a fucking housemaid, like.
It kind of tricked me because as soon as she started giving her homespun wisdom, I'm like, oh, are they gonna project her in like a positive, like affirming way? No.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
at
always
first
that
you're kind of like,
you're almost the hope there, and then you're like, this is what year was this made?
Nah,
64.
Like, never happening.
They just had
the moment I said, oh, this is progressive for 1963, and then she opened her mouth again, I'm like, no, it's not.
Also, just because it's progressive, it doesn't take a lot. You know, it doesn't take a whole fucking lot to be even progressive today to even put in 0% effort. And
She
you could
was
still
the character was
do better.
still like there was still one scene where her only line was, "I brought you some tea, sir."